How did you learn that mom had cancer?
It's a pretty crazy story. So my mom has always been extremely healthy. She's always walking, super active, cleaning all the time. And one day she was picking up Daisy, her dog, who's like 10 pounds, from the ground to the bed. And she was leaning over to lift her up and fell off the bed. And from there, it was just a crazy whirlwind. Dad calls me. I'm already on my way because her doctor called me. I picked up her medical records and went to pick up my mom and dad. And my mom's like barely walking out of the door. I mean, she looked like she had like yellowing skin and was very weak. And that's not my mom. My mom is super active, super fit. My mom and dad were walking 2 miles a day. We're in the middle of COVID, just super healthy. And then we were knocked with her going to the hospital, and she was there for the weekend and was let out with the diagnosis of hemolytic anemia. So pretty much she was losing blood. But at this point, they really didn't know how, and it really wasn't hemolytic anemia. She came home the day before her birthday, September 3rd, and woke up that morning weak again. And sure enough, she had lost more blood. Her hemoglobin was down, and we had to rush her back to the emergency room. She was then there for 2 weeks, and they were grueling 10 weeks. The whole thing was awful. Mind you, we're in the middle of COVID, and every time we had to go back to the hospital, she had to go through the emergency room. And of course, you have to get a COVID test, and it's 24 hours for this COVID test. And we're like, this is crazy. Why do we have to keep testing for COVID? Like, she's clearly sick. She doesn't have COVID. We've all been quarantined and tested 1,000,000 times over again. Nobody has COVID. Like, just let us in so she can get up to the floor so we can test her. So she was there for 2 weeks and underwent many tests. And I tried my hardest to get into the hospital. It got so far that I got the CEO and the COO on a Zoom call, and I begged and I pleaded. And he said something along the lines of like, if we let you in, we can't let you out. I'm like, fine, so be it. Like, if I'm in there for a month, I'm in there for a month with her. Just let me in there. And they wouldn't. And then I stayed outside with donuts, and I waited and tried to plead with the nurses, because people were going into the hospital. It was just under different circumstances, which is super frustrating. So I even bought scrubs to try to sneak into the hospital. And my dad was like, don't do that, because she's there by herself and she's getting worn down, and we can't protect her because she's by herself and she's just constantly getting poked and prodded at. And it was a very grueling 2 weeks. And September 11th, we got her diagnosis that she had stage 4 T-cell lymphoma. And it was the worst day of my entire life. Actually, my mom's passing was the worst day, but at that point I thought it was the worst day. And it was difficult, and my dad and I went in. They said that only one person can go in, because at this point she is very sick. And they were like, you can only have one person go in. And I said, screw this, we're both going. And we went to the hospital, and of course I'm friends with the valet up front, so he knows me, and I just go and I scoot in front of everybody and I throw my keys, and I said, see you whenever. I have no idea when I'm going to see you again, but like, I'm hoping I can stay in with my mom. We could only stay one night. My dad stayed with her after that, and she started her cancer treatment the next day. And she found out from the doctor that she had cancer. Dad and I didn't want to tell her. And so Andy, my brother, came in and the next morning, and we told her then. And so we were there as a family to tell her and that we were going to fight this together. And we tried our hardest for sure.